Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of The Matrix Resurrections on HBO Max. And I got my jacket out, so this is not gonna be a good one. I did not think that I would be using this jacket this much for this many things going on towards the end of 2021, but damn. And also, I'm glad I didn't go to the theaters to see this because holy fucking shit. What the hell? Now, I didn't give it two thumbs down because there are at least some interesting ideas that are in play here. However, they are usually executed towards a complete and utter crap fest, and it just doesn't work out at all. Like, this has some of the cringiest fucking dialogue I have ever had the displeasure of witnessing. Like, it's almost that the writers had no idea how normal humans speak. They're like, oh, this is a buzzword, this is a slang word, throw it in here. Oh my god, it happens so many times. Like, there's the premise of like a video game company, and I'm like, you think that like the worst parts of any online community that talk like this is how these game companies do? Now, granted, there are bad aspects in video game companies, but I swear to everything under the sun that if any of them talked like this or even tried to like do anything like this, they'd never be able to do anything. Like, it's of course it's mainly in the Matrix, so of course they're able to do their own kind of parameters. But it's like, yeah, only in a simulation would that shit kind of work or fly. Like, all of these people have to be bots or whatnot. Like, nobody talks completely like this. And I'm not just talking about like using a slang word here or there or whatnot. It's like vomiting buzzwords. It's unnatural. It's like, what the fuck did you smoke to get here? And the movie is too meta. Like, there becomes a certain threshold limit of meta-ness that can actually kind of work. Like, we've seen it work in Deadpool. You kind of like thread that line where you get kind of meta but not too much. This is even kind of getting to meta to the part of like why this movie even fucking exists. It's like not really for the fans, not really for the Warner Brothers. It's more just like, okay, they threw a pile of money at the people that created it and like, all right, fine, we'll make another one, and then just didn't give a shit, and this is what we got. And I'm like, all right, why is... All right, cool. So, let us get into the nuts and bolts of what kind of starts to go on. So, we start off the movie with this person, Bugs, talking to Sec. It's like, oh god, there's this like old code thing going on here. What the fuck's going on? And they're pretty much going through, and it's a modal pretty much mirroring the events of the original Matrix, except everybody kind of looks different. It's kind of like, what? All right, fine. I thought we were going for like more of a different kind of story, but let's go with this because here's the thing. You're like, all right, they're kind of redoing some of the Matrix stuff with like Trinity, but a different actress. Yep. And another dude that's kind of like Morpheus, but not. Yep. And it's like they picked the laziest kind of way to do kind of stuff, but it's almost like it's done as a troll kind of thing. I don't know the objectives of this goddamn film because it's trying it. When you watch it, you're like, are you fucking with me? Are you telling, like, there's certain concepts like, oh, okay, going to stuff with feelings and all that kind of stuff, because that gets kind of brought up. And that kind of algorithmic thing is like, okay, I understand it. Going into the whole pill kind of choice and the illusion of choice and all that. All right, cool. It's like blah, blah, blah. All right, fine. Ugh. It's really weird because we see Bugs see this shit kind of happening, but we see that the dude that's like Morpheus is an agent, and she's kind of confused. Like, wait a minute, they're both affected by Neo, because she evidently saw Neo even though it wasn't Neo, and then Neo did some Neo shit, and she's like, yeah, I want to get out of the Matrix, and this is what I've been doing. It's like, all right, cool. And then the Morpheus kind of things, like, yeah, I had this like feeling, and I was able to kind of like see it or whatnot. And then, all right, cool. So then they try to escape. He takes the red pill thing, and they're trying to escape through all these agents, and they are able to get out. It's like, all right. Then we shift over to Thomas Anderson, which we see he's like, one of my programs escaped from my modal thing, and he's running this video game company, and he did it pretty much based on the Matrix. And then they get brought up that he's going to this therapist and taking these blue pills. We get this kind of montage thing going on that he is a suicide survivor, and it's like, all right, okay, but evidently he was like stepping off the building because he was convinced that he could fly, and he doesn't fly until the end of the movie. It's never quite clear why he cannot access that kind of thing throughout any of this. Even when he kind of gets back into his like Neo Mojo, all he can really do is force push shit. They stuck to one kind of thing. It's like, all right, and even his action scenes weren't that really well done. I'm like, this dude did kick-ass shit in the original Matrix trilogy, and is doing kick-ass shit in John Wick, and the action scenes in this fucking suck. Like, they aren't the complete worst that I've seen. It's not like they're like the choreography's to the point where here's a dude and I'm like, I'm a punch, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it, I'm already dodging, and the punch is like, I just started the punch and you've already dodged, and it's like, huh, it's like, you gotta make it look good, bro. And the dude's like, shit, fuck. But this, it's like, the Matrix is known for interesting kind of thought processes and trying to get you to think about certain things. But even this is like, here's certain snippets. We're not going to dive into that shit pretty much at all. You know what I mean? Like, there's not even that. Granted, we can debate upon the depths of the original Matrix trilogy and, like, even stuff from movie to movie. Granted. But it did have you think about, like, what's real, what's not, what kind of things go on within a simulation, what does that mean it's any less real, the power of reality and dreams, all that kind of stuff. This is just like, yeah, there's like no depth to it whatsoever. They're just like, oh, okay, they wanted another Matrix, they wanted Neo, they wanted Trinity, some kind of fucking action scene, Smith thrown in for good measure, and voila. So Anderson's like going through, they're like, hey, we want to make another Matrix thing, and they're brainstorming, and it's like the shittiest fucking shit. But granted, even though it's meta and cringe as all fuck, it does track with pretty much how things are like for pumping out sequels. It's like, come on, if you got a continuation for the story, it's a different kind of matter. You know what I mean? It's just like, alright. He's pretty much trying to figure out all this stuff. He sees Trinity, but she's going by Tiffany. This one annoying dude, Jude, pretty much goes up and tries to like talk him up or whatnot, but we find out that she's got kids and is married to someone else, and they kind of walk off, and he's trying to figure out what's going on and dealing with his therapist and all that, and he's thinking he could fly. He's about to jump off, but then Bugs is like, hey, I can get you out of here. Alright, follow me here. And then we see that the Morpheus program's like, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And we see a lot of shit from, like, the other Matrix movies. There is so much actual fucking footage from the other Matrix movies. I'm like, what? And then the fucking Morpheus program is fucking almost making fun of, like, the other Morpheus shit that we see. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? It's like, do you take one or you take the other? It's like, alright, fine, fuck this shit. And he's like, oh, Mr. Anderson's like, shit, this fucking dude's got me. Get him out of here. And then, of course, we get our chase sequence throughout all this kind of stuff. Instead of just throwing out agents, we now have bot swarms because, interestingly enough, it's a weird kind of commentary on the bots. I'm like, alright, weird flex, okay. So they just thought it would be easier to, like, pretty much make bots, skin them to look like humans, and then just have them around, and then just, I'm like, okay, that's kind of more effective than just, like, having an agent jack over a program, or jack over, like, a person in the Matrix or whatnot. and do that. It's like, all right, cool. They're fighting and everything, and it's not really that interesting. But they're kind of going through. They're able to get Neo out in the mirror of the scene. He gets like taken out. They get all that. He sees Trinity in the next pod over, and then these two kind of machines are able to take him out to their ship that Bugs is on, and everybody kind of introduces themselves. We've got a Neologist, pretty much like a super uber fanboy that's trying to figure out all the kind of shit that goes on with Neo. Not really that interesting. They had to like pretty much make sure he like worked out. And for some reason, he's got like a super, like a bigger kind of thing at the kind of base of his neck. It's like, all right, cool. How long have you been out? Like 60 years. It's like, all right, cool. They go to this place, Io, instead of Zion. They got better hiding technology, and they've got synthients. Because we saw them on the board the ship, they're like machines that defected from the Machine City and joined the humans. Because we got those two, and then of course we got the Morpheus program that's able to like be in like a digital nanite swarm thing. Never mind the fact that it is a big fucking fundamental political giant shift within the realm of the Matrix that's never really adequately dived into. But evidently in IO, they're able to do this. We see that Niobe is in charge, and she's old and crotchety because that's what we got. She pretty much court martials the captain. Like, yeah, you're gonna go down there and scrub her with a toothbrush. And she kind of pretty much gives the lowdown. It's like, yeah, you've been gone for 60 years. We saw that after whatever you and Trinity did, the machines kind of like did an accord thing, and then we even saw the machines fight each other. Morpheus was promoted to council kind of thing, and there's like this power rising at some place, and then for some reason it took out Zion, but we don't really get much details. It's like, Morpheus isn't that fucking stupid. And it's like, oh, you didn't fucking think about that. It's like, that's literally what he spent his life fighting. You have to have a better kind of explanation than that. But it's like, okay. And then she's like, I'm going to try and protect the city. It's just like, hey, look at this. We got this sentient that's helping us make strawberries because we're able to, like, take the digital kind of shit and, like, print it into the real world. It's like, oh, okay. Alright. Cool. And then Neo, of course, wants to go get Trinity, but she's like, yeah, I'm going to pretty much put you under house arrest. So that way you don't go do that. Because we got our accords and shit like that. It's like, alright, fine. I mean, you're not talking to any kind of, like, machine envoy or whatnot. You're not doing any kind of thing to kind of, like, keep any... what? So that way we have an escape scene and everything, and then now it's, like, the opposite that we had from the original Matrix, where Trinity was trying to find Neo and get him out first, and then, like, find him for most of the other kind of things. Now we got Neo trying to get Trinity. Of course, we do bring up the whole kind of thing of, like, hero worship and all that kind of shit. Because Neo's like, yeah, I never really bought that into the one stuff, except when Trinity believed that I was the one to do all this kind of shit. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, it's good to show that Neo's not a complete and utter dick shit, and it's like, I'm the big one. Because that's not part of his character arc and his development. The pretty much, what we got at the end of Revelations was him even letting go of that kind of thing, and even just kind of being at peace with himself and who he was in order to kind of undo Smith's viral takeover of the Matrix and have Smith kind of purged. Yeah. But they kind of go off. They're able to get in. They're like, all right, we'll kind of try and convince Trinity. But that's, of course, where the analyst pops up. And he evidently was able to resurrect them both, even though they really don't get much into it. It's like, yeah, it was a pretty big kind of time effort and shit like that. But I use it to pretty much be a dick. And, like, he's trying to study humans and shit like that. And he's like, hey, yeah, feelings kind of power to make it more efficient and everything. And as long as I kept you two close but not actually doing shit, that's like the most powerful and efficient Matrix ever. It's like, alright, you're telling us this shit, but you're not really showing us anything like that. And of course he uses like slowing down of time completely to pretty much stop Neo from actually kind of fighting him. But however, it wouldn't really have mattered if if Neo hadn't had access to his full kind of suite of abilities uh, from the Matrix, which it doesn't really explain why he doesn't have the kind of access that he did previously, like at all. Like, I understand dying would kind of put a fucking damper on that kind of thing, but it doesn't even get into, like, that. It's not like, oh yeah, you were kind of dead for a little bit, so of course I would kind of fuck with your neurons and shit to be able to be like, hey, I can bend a spoon, I can fly, I can fucking fire out my ass, and blow up half a city block. That was never shown to be one of Neo's things, but I am just going with what he could potentially be able to do. It, even within the previous movies, it was never explained what kind of limits he had, unless it was like the only limits are your mind kind of thing, which it would have been interesting to see that actually kind of go a little bit further. That kind of like plot convenience and demanding happens a lot in here. So, we see that he threatens Trinity. He's like, listen, you come back in here, or I kill her. Never mind the fact that would fucking destroy this kind of shit. It would actually be better if he let them both out and then tried to reason with them. I say that, but I mean, if you fucking pretty much resurrected people and put them into a hellscape scenario where they could never find their requited lovers, I'd pretty much like fucking donkey kick punch that dude in the nards and make sure that like he'd be fucked up with that kind of shit. Well, granted, I'm not that violent, but I'd be like, aha! Eat your own dick with your own ass. Fuck this! And then like try and figure out how the machines would be able to like put him into a place where he would never be able to do that kind of shit again. Be like, hey guys, this dude's doing some weird freaky shit that probably cost a fuck ton to do, so why don't you kind of rein that motherfucker in? Yeah. So then we have to like plot convenience and contrivance the shit to what's going on. He of course is pretty much, you know, he's like, you fuckers, we gotta do this shit. And then like this magical, mystical, other kind of machine comes in, and it's got Sati from the original trilogy, the little girl program. Like her father kind of built this kind of shit and was killed, her mother and father. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get vengeance on these motherfuckers. I was like, alright, cool. Could you kind of explain how your sentience kind of went and everything? I was like, alright, fine, cool. It's not plot. It's not important to the plot at all, but alright. So like, alright, we're gonna get you to Trinity. We're gonna figure this shit out. We're gonna do that shit. So we're gonna do this, sneak in here and do that kind of stuff. And it's like, alright. Now granted, I like heists and set up plans and going through the kind of motions and all that. But here, it's just, oh my god. Like, in the previous one, we had gotten this whole thing with these, like, this movie had pretty much fucked my ability to care after a certain point because of the, like, complete plot stupidity. Like, the video game thing, and then when he was going to Trinity the first time, the fucking weird French program dude's, like, shouting about, like, random past shit and, like, trying to sound like internet troll memes. And it's just like, wow, you have devolved from a character to just vomiting shit. And then Smith is, like, the dude that was helping Neo in the video game company as the corporate dude being like, let's go back to the Matrix. It's like, oh, it's Smith. He's like, alright, I can't let you take Trinity out. I want to take out the analyst. Then why aren't you teaming up with him? There was literally a fight scene between him and Neo where Neo mainly just did the force push moves. I mean, granted, he had some action shit, but it really wasn't the best kind of thing that they could do. And just like, why is he fighting with him? Why is he teaming up with him? I mean, they've both been locked into this prison Matrix experience, and he's fighting him? Granted, they do a team up at the end because fucking details. But it was just like, even in the moment, I'm like, why is he fucking fighting Neo? He's got nothing against you. You're not fucking virally splooging everywhere and turning everybody into Smiths. But, hey, gotta have some kind of drama and conflict, even if it doesn't make any sense. So they pretty much go in there. For some reason, they needed like another brain thing because Bugs's was the closest to Trinity and their kind of weird thing because Morpheus kind of crawled up the poop tube. Uh, Poop tube kind of thing. Gets in there, is able to open up another thing to pretty much get Machine and Bugs in. Most of the other crew had volunteered to do this. All right, fine, whatever. And they're going in. The analyst is like, all right, fine. What do you want to do, man? And he's like, all right, let me try and convince Trinity and see how this goes. Of course, we have the whole spiel of like, she's not going to listen at first, but of course she'll fucking figure it out because her like fake family is like, come on, Tiff, I fucking hate that name. Because she was laying hits, she like works on motorcycles. She actually like played the parts as Trinity in the video game, and her son or whatnot. It's like, oh, that's like never be used. Like I can do that shit. And then all the fighting ensues. Smith tries to go after the analyst, but really doesn't accomplish much. And for some reason, the CAT program can get him out of any snafu, but I don't fucking understand how that works out. But the important plots points don't make it ain't worth it here, man. I'm asking the questions and the things like, fuck you, I got my money, bitch. That is the biggest kind of thing I got throughout this whole movie, especially to the end credits scene. Ooh, wait till we get there, my friends. Oh, yes. So, we get this whole spiel thing of, like, people fighting with these, police, things going on. Neo and Trinity are able to, like, get through and touch each other and then force fart them away. Never mind that it doesn't make any sense that it happens that way, but it just shows the power of their love, man. It's the theme. Yeah, I get the theme. I know the power of love, but why the fuck is it making them do, like, fucking Matrix force fart pushes against things? I don't even need that in-depth of an explanation, man. I just need to know why the fuck it happens. Alright. So that's going on. Then the bot swarms keep coming at the people, and they're like rolling on a Ducati, and like helicopters come up and they're like, missile. Push. And it's just fucking. God. No. Then of course some of the people get like attacked. We don't lose anybody. Smith just pieced out like, deuces, motherfuckers. And then just like, anyone could be the one. Me, I could be anyone. Where the fuck am I here? The dude, as he fucking pretty much disappears. I'm like, alright, you're not escaped. I mean, at least you could like become fucking swarmed ass nanite dick shit, like walking around. Never mind the fact that you killed and murdered a lot of people, but fucking details, Mr. Anderson. So, they're doing this whole thing, pretty much flying, fucking doing all that shit. Well, they're not flying yet, but they're racing out, they're trying to escape the Matrix. The people kind of getting, like, screwed over. They're trying to, like, get on this rooftop. Neo pretty much throws a missile at a helicopter, and then they're, like, on the rooftop, and they jump off, and Trinity can fly, but Neo can't. I don't know why. Like, I don't mind the Trinity. Like, most of these things, it's the execution and the content and the direction. Like, I don't have a problem with most of these actors. It's mainly the shit that they've got to say. And I don't mind Trinity flying and having more control over the Matrix, because the whole thing is understanding, freeing your mind, what you can actually do within reality. What are your limits? I'm just like, why can she fly? Like, even Neo, it was more like he was in tune with the Matrix and stuff like that in the original trilogy. It was never really explicitly stated. So it also gets to the effect that means it's a softer kind of rule that can, like, bend and change at will as the plot demands. So that's kind of like a thing where it mainly hurts it here, because it's just all willy-nilly. She flies them out. They're able to get out. Everybody's out. Everyone's like, yay, we succeeded. And then they find the analyst program, and Trinity flies them there, and pretty much fucks with him, uses some weird kind of power to pretty much get rid of his jaw, fuck with him, and be like, yeah, we're gonna change this to whatever we like. I'm like, okay, they've now become godlike, and they're just gonna change it to whatever they want. As we see Neo and Trinity flying, I'm like, all right, can they do that? What kind of repercussions are that? How's that gonna work with certain things? I don't know. This movie doesn't know, and it doesn't fucking care. And that's where it ends. And then we get pretty much the end credit scene, which is just the cat tricks. Like, just showing the video games brainstorming things like, yeah, cat videos. Let's do the cat tricks. And that's it. It was more just like, hey, guess what? All those people that usually sit behind and wait for, like, a post-credit scene, fuck you. Like, it was mind-boggling. That alone warranted the complete thumbs down. I mean, granted, there are a lot of fucking issues before, but I'm just like, wow, sure. Post-credit scenes don't always have to have some kind of goal in showcasing another kind of story that is being laid out or anything like that, but to just pretty much be nothing, like, you're wasting my time, the viewer, you're wasting the actors' times, you're wasting your time, you're wasting the filmer's time, you're wasting everybody's time for what that was. You've literally extracted even more value with that to just be like, whoop, there we go. So, I would not recommend this to a Matrix fan, but there are some Matrix fans that would appreciate it. I understand that. If you like this, that's great. I don't want to take that from you. Always when I do these reviews, I don't want to shit on things. I don't want to shit on people. Whenever I'm doing these kind of reviews, I'm trying to see what works for me, what doesn't work, why do I like something, is that because it's subjective or objective, what does that all kind of mean? I always want to be like, okay, here are these problems that I have, and if you can kind of like take that into account, and if that actually works into any kind of other thing going forward. I never want to take enjoyment of something from people. So if you enjoyed this, I am happy for you, and I hope you continue to enjoy it. Sincerely. But this was like 2.5 hours I'm not getting back. Now granted, I didn't go to a movie theater for it. One. And it comes with the HBO Max thing that we got, and didn't really pay for it in the traditional sense. This movie's muddled to all hell. It's got all these kind of things that it could say things about and deep dive about, but doesn't. It just shouts shit and does meta shit, and it just is like a cash grab completely. And its plot is fucking just nuts. The characters are barely done any justice to whatsoever. Like, the only ones that stay kind of consistent are Neo and Trinity. They keep the good through line, and that's good for them. That's a good point. They still have feelings for each other. They're still doing their kind of stuff, even though they're in a completely screwed up plot. The action scenes are not even up to par for what the original trilogy was able to provide. And that's just not even nostalgia talking. Like, it was able to do different kind of things and keep the action in great shots. There are vastly better action scenes that I've seen in other movies, other shows, even with these actors and actresses. It was just like, all right. So yeah, I really wouldn't recommend this. I mean, if you can stream it and you got the time and you're bored and you can find nothing else on, sure, go for it. Definitely have white noise in the background. Maybe entertain you for what the CGI is and everything. Graphics are fine. Like, it's not boundary pushing, but at least it keeps with the kind of like status quo that we've had for CGI effects. Yeah, this was disappointing. I mean, I'm not a gigantic fan of The Matrix, but it was one of those kind of pivotal kind of shifts. really liked the first one. Second one, I was like, all right. And I was intrigued with stuff that Revelations had, but I was never like a deep fan lore person of it, even though it has interesting kind of lore that could be explored. This was just like, huh, okay, this is what we got. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.